Hey, welcome everybody. I just want to show you the new system I've built called the PulseDrive. It's based off a lot of inspiration of other systems that I've traded over the years. So far, I'll be honest, this is where I found the most success, and for that reason I started building a lot of tools around this trading methodology, which is scalping, and it is scalping on very short time frames. I spend around 20 minutes, I'd say, a day, taking around 5 to 6 to between 5 and 10 trades, and that's all you really need. If you can scalp the market for a few ticks, I target around 30 ticks a day, then that's more than enough to make a living from. Let's start off with what we see on the charts first before we move on. First, I'm on ES, the ES contract for September. This is Renko, currently using Yenza Renko, so this is not a minute bar, an hour or so. This is the 10 or 100 bars might print in 1 minute. It really depends how the market's moving. Every time the market's move a tick or so up or down, a new bar is going to print. Alright, so if you don't know about Renko, I might create a video for that, but if you don't know about it, just go Google it and check it out. But that's not super important right now. So right now, what else do we see on the chart? We see these horizontal lines, that blue line, that color lines. These are just the previous close and different pivot points that we just sort of need to be aware of. Not super important right now. In fact, I am going to hide them for now, just to make it so we can focus on what's important. And what is important? That is these exponential moving averages. So these moving averages are set up as the 34, which is the fast one, the 34 EMA, the 89 EMA, the 200 EMA, and the 600 EMA. A lot of inspiration on these EMA values were taken from other systems that I've traded over the years. They just really work well. We use them for two reasons. Firstly, we want to get an idea of, is the market trending and where are we trending? Now, obviously, if you look at this chart, we could clearly see we're moving upwards, right? We're making higher highs, higher lows, and we're moving upwards. But we can also have a look at the moving averages to determine where we're going. Firstly, they turn green or red depending on their internal settings. Basically, sort of when the slope changes and when it starts moving up. They've got their own sort of trend detection built inside. So if we see all green, we sort of know, listen, this is a bull market. We want to take a long trade. So we want to trade the market upwards. We don't want to take shorts here. There's no shorting here. We just want to take longs. So why do we have these EMAs? Well, price reacts to them in a very high probability way. A lot of times when there's a bounce, a small reversal on that line, the chances are that the price moves in that direction is quite well. So every time we get to these lines, we could see if there is a trade setup. Okay. So currently I've got a little signal circle set up, which we're going to remove now. I just want to show you, which would technically show you where some entries would be, where the price came down and it came down again, and you would have potentially have taken a trade there. So what is important of this market is that you trade it only in trending markets. Do not trade it when it's a sideways market. So if you don't know what a sideways market is, here's a great example of a sideways market. As you can see, we are literally going sideways. A little bit of upwards here, but generally it's a sideways market. All right. So we really want to make sure that we're in a trend before we take these trades. Let's move on to the right hand side a little bit. All right. So not all of these entries, like that one, would be actual entries. We're going to get to that now. Once there is a little bounce up like that, you use the tool on the right hand side, which is going to engage a pending order, but only if the price moves up a little bit above that would actually execute that order. So it doesn't mean for every green or every red entry that you see now, that'll be valid trades. All right, so here we're changing to a downwards trend, which could potentially in the long run still be an upwards, but let's just for now say we ignore everything else and we just say, okay, now we're going to go for short. So there's a short entry, there's another short entry. Will you hit your target? That's something else we're going to discuss now. In essence, what we're trying to cater for is around 8 ticks. So our target is usually around, let's have a look, that's 10 ticks, so probably around there. So after entering, that would be our target on average. Not for all trades. Some trades we take and we get big moves. Some trades we don't and we just get a few ticks. All right. So, and something else to mention is when we're in a downward trend, we do not take long entries. We only take short entries. So for instance, there was a bounce on this moving average upwards right there. What is that icon? Alt F2, sorry. But we won't take that trade because we are clearly downtrend. So we're not taking longs, we're only taking shorts. So we would take all of these trades in a downward market, and in an upward market we take all these trades. All right. So as you can see, price reacts on this level as well, but in this case we won't take this long. All right, we would take that short, those shorts, and so forth. All right, there's another short, but I think here the price starts to move up again. All right, let's talk about how do we take trades. So rather than using the buy market and the sell market buttons and setting it up, we do two things. First, we set up what's called an ATM, and all this does is it just sets your stop loss, your take profit, your order quantity. I'm not going to go into detail of this. This is a NinjaTrader's pop-up and feature. But in essence, we're using a very simple hard stop, hard take profit. And we're waiting for price to react to this area. So we could go and we could right click and put a pending order. So if price moves upwards, it would hit that order. But this is not ideal for many reasons, because sometimes the market moves quite quickly, or it runs back to this moving average, and then you have to trail your stop loss down. So now let's load the tool and remove that. Let's enable it. All right, so this is the Pulse Trader, and it does a few things. Firstly, on the left hand side on the chart, it shows you all your previous trades. So we just took that trade and it was a loss, and it shows you in red if it's a loss. All right, so this helps you manage and open trades. So first we're going to select an ATM, which is just a hard take profit and stop loss. And you've got two major buttons which are important. Are we going to go long or are we going to short? So if you look at this market currently, we're sort of back on our way upwards. So we didn't go long. If we've got a reaction there, we want to take a trade. So this long shows you, if I press the long button, where is it going to put a pending buy stop, which can also be a buy limit, depending how you set it up. And if I press short now, it's going to cancel that pending and it's create a short. So if we're on our way moving down, it's going to be a tick or two away from the current price. But if it's on our way up, it needs to print that reversal candle, and that reversal candle takes up around 6 ticks. So it's waiting for 7 tick movement upwards. All right, so, and what would also happen if this price continues to move down, this is going to follow. So let's play here and let's see what happens. So we're expecting the price to either have a reaction here or a further bit down. Let's see if there is anything. So we do have a reaction here. We are filled, and now we're in the market. Let's see what happens. I'm going to forward it a little bit. All right. we can go to break even if you want. We can move our stop loss up a little bit if you want to protect our earnings. As you can see, we missed that take profit with a, a tick. Let's go to break even and let's see what happens. All right, we reached our target profit. So what happens now is it creates this little box, and the box, sorry, it's a bit hard to see because of that, but this box starts at on the bar where the entry was taken, and it ends on the bar where the entry was closed. It tells you it's a long trade, $80, 8 ticks. All right, and you'll see this is now reset. If you go long, it says long armed. If the trade is taken and you're in the market, you no longer can't press long or short. You can only press flatten, which would basically just close this position. All right, so you don't have to buy market, you can just wait for the price to react. So let's see what happens next. Okay, price is nicely trending now, so we're expecting a little bit of a pullback very soon. Sometimes it's a short pullback, sometimes it's a deeper pullback, but let's see what happens. Okay, so let me just take it a bit slower there. So we're waiting. I'm not going to put the pending order yet because it might bounce here up here, and the probability, the high probability setups are on a retracement to these moving averages. So we don't just take every trade there, we wait for it to come back to the moving average. And sometimes we miss out on a trade and sometimes we don't. But it's about probability, and with on probability that 4 out of 5 trades are going to work out in our favor. All right, coming down. So let's see what happens. Feels a bit early for a long. All right. So sorry, I forwarded it a bit, but anyhow, it went to that the 89 EMA. And we're seeing a little bounce that now. It's also close to this previous high. So let's get in this trade. And sometimes when there's a deeper pullback, there's also potential bigger targets to reach. Obviously not always, but a lot of occasions. You could end up having a 10, 20, 30 tick move. Right, and at any point in time when we feel it's time, we can go to break even, but sometimes a bit early. As you can see, if I went to break even there, I would have been out with 1 tick, which is basically just commission. So let's give it some room to move. Okay, we're about at our target right now. Yeah, there we close it. 13 ticks, $130. All right. So now what are we waiting for? We're waiting for price to come back again. So this, looking at this previous high, ideally we do want to see it being broken, but if we don't, it's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean that the next trade is not going to work out. I've seen many times where I don't believe it's going to bounce again, where it just keeps on bouncing. Right, as you can see, we're still in a strong uptrend. So this is a day trading system, but it's also a scalping system. Day trading, because you can technically do it any time of the day. When the markets are quiet, slow, the same setups appear. You're just looking at the charts longer. You're sitting in trades for a few minutes, potentially up to an hour if the markets are basically dead. But it's the same setups. So I've traded this in the mornings and afternoons, at nights, but I do like trading it at US times or US mornings. So in our time around 3 to 5, US time around 7, 8, because then there's just endless choices. You know, you don't have to sit and wait for a trend to happen, because in one of these contracts, there is a trend. So looking at this is in 20 minutes. There was around 10 trades here. I think that's it for now. What I will be doing is recording and publishing videos where I just trade the system. It's just so you can see how it's traded and so forth.